I'd like to talk today about the Affordable Care Act. There were oral presentations made yesterday to the Supreme Court in reference to the Affordable Care Act. From a personal standpoint, I have been without health insurance a number of times during my lifetime. On one or two occasions, I was actually fired from a job. On other occasions, I was laid off a job jobs that I was actually doing very well at. That's just the nature of the beast. I'm not asking for sympathy. This is actually what happened. I can remember on one instance when I was not feeling well that I went to a clinic, a care place, or whatever you want to call it. And even though they said they took people without insurance, they took people without insurance that had to pay. And I went in and they said, oh, it's $80. And I decided, this was about, 5-7 years ago? And I said, well, if I feel this bad tomorrow, I'm going to come back. And of course, the next day I felt better. At the same time, I'm acutely aware of many other people who are without health care that have, let's just say, many more physical ailments than I do. And I feel for them. In a lot of ways, there was nothing that they had done that caused the condition that they had. And in many instances, people, in fact, you remember like about 5, 7, 9 years ago when the Republicans ran through that thing in reference to credit cards. It had to do with credit cards and it had to do with debt. And basically, it indicated because Americans are amassing too much debt. Basically, what it had to do with declaring bankruptcy, and that too many Americans were declaring bankruptcy. At the same time, and that they were amassing too much debt. We were forgiving too much debt, and so obviously people couldn't declare bankruptcy. They had to do all this other kind of stuff. And of course, they found out that people were declaring bankruptcy not because they had too much credit card debt and that they couldn't pay their bills because of all the credit card debt. The three big reasons why people had to declare bankruptcy was number one, loss of a, well, I don't know the order. One was loss of a job. Another one was a divorce, which broke up the family finances. And then a third one was medical things, that a medical situation arose. And a lot of this had to do with people who already had insurance. They just did not have enough insurance. And how do you define enough insurance? How much is that? So I'm acutely aware of other people who really suffer medical issues that are no fault of their own, and our government has really not done anything to try to help them in any way, shape, or form. Now we have the Affordable Care Act, and at least it's a start. Hopefully it's on the way towards single payer. Hopefully it's on the way so that everyone can be insured in the United States. And I don't know how the system is going to be, but it can work. And it will work in the United States. It has worked in many other countries, and has worked in many other countries for many years. And I know that my friends, my sisters and brothers on the Republican side will rant up and down about freedom, 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 and all of that other kind of happy horse crap. With the Affordable Care Act, in the whatever was put in yesterday for the Affordable Care Act, the hospital association, the insurance companies, they were with the administration on this, and it's just these crazy nut-right people on the right, who say freedom, 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 and all of this other kind of stuff, and even the chief lawyer for the plaintiffs basically indicated that it wasn't written by old dead white people because that's the Constitution. See, old dead white people. No, it was written by women and minorities. The implication being is that women and minorities don't really amount to enough as compared to the old white people old white men who wrote dead white men who wrote the Constitution. You see, everything's framed in the Constitution. But I truly feel for those people who have had debilitating conditions and not have insurance. I do have a family member who has a debilitating condition. Fortunate to be able to get that person on Medicare, which that person needed, because the insurance on that person would have been astronomical, even if it was on a parent's health plan, or if they had to go out on their own. Well, no, if it was on their parent's health plan, it would have been okay. But on their own, thousands of dollars per month because of a pre-existing condition, which would cost a lot of money if it arose again. And of course, at the same time, it may never arise again, and at the same time, it may arise a number of different times. And of course, this is why we have insurance. But what I really saw in yesterday and everything else leading up to this Supreme Court hearing yesterday on the Affordable Care Act is that it really does appear as if that my sisters and brothers on the Republican side really don't want people to be healthy. They don't want anything. And I see a racial animus to this in terms of being against Obama. I see an animus towards poor people because they're lazy and they don't work and all of this other happy horse crap. And as I have mentioned on a couple of occasions, that in a previous, a number of years ago, I was in the construction business, and I had a number of projects that on and off for about 2 years down in the projects, as they used to call them. I don't even know what they call them right now, public housing, whatever. And let's just say I saw a lot of good people there who didn't necessarily have a whole lot get up every single day and go to work. I don't know how much they made. Maybe they made more than me. Maybe they made less. But most of them worked. Of course, no, not all of them worked. Was there drugs in the area? Of course there was drugs in the area. Were there kids running around that didn't have much to do in the summertime? Of course there were. That you would find in any place. Did they have better access to guns than they might have in the suburbs? Possibly. All right. But getting back to the Affordable Care Act is that a lot of these people don't make a whole heck of a lot of money. A lot of them may not be able to, and a lot of poor people who cannot afford health insurance do work. And you can't. How can you afford health insurance on $7.25 an hour? How can you afford health insurance on $10 an hour? And that's a big thing for kids right now, because I know that they're going out there in the workforce. I know some of them, and, they're making 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour. And, they have a car, they have an apartment. How are they going to pay that much more in terms of, how that money just doesn't even go even remotely close to it. But my big point about the Affordable Care Act, it is the beginning. It's a step in the right direction. We need to find health insurance. We need to take care of the people within our country. We need to find a way to help them. And it doesn't seem as if my brothers and sisters on the Republican side really want to help people. And it does seem to be because they are poor, they are minority, they are women. And it just does not seem as if my sisters and brothers on the opposite side really want to help those types of people.